Today, what are you doing watching this video when you should be playing Far Cry 6? This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint, where today, according to Google, we are celebrating the birthday of Kano Jigoro, founder of Judo.
Ah, cool. I did not know that. Thanks, Google Doodle, and happy birthday, Kano-sensei. I'm sorry I didn't get you anything.
Oh, don't feel bad. Kano Jigoro would also have been surprised, considering he was actually born on December 10th. Luckily, I'm sure he'd be able to roll with the punches.
Oh, because he knows judo!
What? No update on Activision Blizzard this week from a legal perspective, but we can tell you two things. One, they've renamed Jesse McCree, a.k.a. Overwatch's Mr. High Noon Cowboy, since, as we previously mentioned, the name Jesse McCree was a subtle nod to now former Blizzard developer Jesse McCree. Anyway, his name is Cole Cassidy now, and it's going to take a while before the Overwatch community adapts to the change. I mean, heck, I'm still writing 2019 on all my checks. More aspirationally than anything else. Everyone around here has TAP anyway, less physical contact, which will also be a side effect of the total lack of BlizzCon in 2022. After 2021's online-only BlizzConline, a name that definitely works better written down than said out loud, Blizzard released a statement this week stating that they feel, quote, the energy it would take to put on a show like this is best directed towards supporting our teams and progressive developments of our games and experiences. Now, the cynical among us would probably say something like, they're only doing this because of the ongoing lawsuits and that they don't want to deal with an in-person reckoning of their business practices and treatment of workers, and probably the most likely reason, they have nothing particularly important to announce, so why waste the time and money for an event that won't achieve any marketing goals? And to those cynics, I say, yes, I agree with you. I am also that. That is what I am saying. BlizzCon is literally named in the lawsuit. It's where the Cosby Suite was. This way, they can just save themselves the trouble of sending an intern to Kinko's to print out a new Cosby poster.
The Financial Modeling World Cup is a terrifying new edge-of-your-seat thrill ride which promises to marry the dizzying highs of state-of-the-art esports with the soul-crushing lows of reconciling your Q3 earnings against available cash flow. That's right, Microsoft Excel is now an esport, and despite my claims to have speedrun Excel to a conclusion, that doesn't mean that there aren't greater goals up for grabs. Whether you top, mid, or jungle, the real winner is the bottom line, and that line is set at $10,000 to undergo standard distribution across the winners. I actually don't know if it'll be a standard distribution. I just thought that was a good joke. Qualifying rounds open on November 13th, so if you need a break from a bit of the old double entry at work, why not tune into Desert Bus for Hope instead? Twitch.tv/DesertBus, and maybe work on this on your second monitor?
What's wrong, babe? You haven't finished your open-world action shooter. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what Far Cry 6 players are getting in their email. In-character messages from Giancarlo Esposito's El Presidente character, goading them into getting back to work and continuing to play the game. Addressing the player character, Rojas, the email reads, Hola, Rojas. I wanted to thank you for giving me free reign in Yara, before asking, surely you can do better than this, and showing the player some of their stats, like active playtime. Despite initial impressions when this email was first doing numbers on the Bird website, it's not based on the player having a low playtime, just that they put the game down for a while or stopped playing altogether, which is a thing you're allowed to do without Giancarlo Esposito's derisive scowl making you feel like the failure you probably are, but not because you stopped playing Far Cry. Now, game publishers sending players cheeky or outright judgmental emails to prod them into returning to an abandoned game is not new. We're talking about this particular example because it made the rounds this week, and the tone feels especially guilt-laden. But no, it's not new. It's kind of slimy and weird, and it dovetails neatly into discussions surrounding a focus on active players rather than happy players or even just games sold. But in this case, I think the most interesting aspect is this is from the bad guy, right? Does that mean the villainous president of this small island nation is part of the Ubisoft marketing team? I mean, I haven't played the game, but I feel like he's not the worst person they have working there.
Idris Elba has promised everyone that Knuckles will not be sexy. And really, we were running out of sentences that we've never said before, so I'm glad we're getting in another one before 2021 peters out entirely. For context, Idris Elba is voicing Knuckles the Echidna in the next Sonic the Hedgehog live-ish action movie. And he's not intending to take Knuckles in a sexy direction, much to the dismay of the greater internet gestalt. When they announced he'd be playing Knuckles, there were some thirsty tweets floating about, my favorite being this tweet from actress Jackée Harry, which I'm spotlighting because holy shit, that is some raw energy for the middle of August. Look, you can Google a lot of things, and when I typed in, quote, Knuckles is, into the blank, it showed a lot of stuff like, Knuckles is a feminist, Knuckles is pro-union, Knuckles is pregnant and Blaze is father? But none of those ever assumed that Knuckles is sexy. I mean, maybe the Mpreg Knuckles one does. That's largely up to the people writing whatever goddamn game he got knucked up in, I guess. Knuckles has recently been set up to be a lovable himbo, and it's disappointing to hear that Idris plans to rob us of the urge to fuck a cartoon monotream, but hey, there's all sorts of Big the Cat OCs on DeviantArt, so lube up, you perverts!
The N64 has come to the Switch in the form of the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, which features emulated N64 games as well as the Sega Genesis, which is kind of weird because it's from the even further previous console generation, but I digress. It also comes with the new paid Animal Crossing DLC for those who can't wait to boot up their island, dust out the cockroaches, and sit down to have coffee with an elephant. The Sega Genesis emulator currently offers 13 classic Genesis titles and Shining Force, while the N64 list only features 8 classic games. And Dr. Mario? The issue, because of course there's an issue, or why would I be talking about it, isn't that there are only 9 games, thereby making that running gag more difficult, but that the emulation of those games is not great. Some sprites look weird, shadows are displaying oddly, and even some distance fog, used by the developers of the day to disguise graphical limitations, isn't rendering properly. All of this is mostly surprising because it seems like a marked downgrade from the Wii U's Virtual Console releases of the same game. The worst offender, though, seems to be the control system because, look, we all know the N64 controller was designed for a Regillian, and we Earthlings lack the central manipulator stock enjoyed by natives of that solar system, so translating any N64 scheme to standard Terran gaming hardware is going to be a little weird, but wow, Nintendo made some choices. D-pad maps to D-pad. Awesome. Middle analog stick maps to the left analog stick. Things are going great. Start maps to plus. Yeah, that makes sense. Then things get wacky because A and B are mapped to A and B, which sounds fine, except that the switches A and B are in different places relative to one another than the N64's. So things are backwards from how the developers would have intended. And then we get to the C buttons. On the N64, this secondary D-pad basically was used for a bunch of stuff, often camera controls, but it varied from game to game. So they're mapped to the right analog stick on the Switch, which definitely makes sense in the case of camera controls, but again, it wasn't always camera controls, and also it's more awkward to shift your thumb from the face buttons to the analog stick than it was to get to the old C buttons, which I guess is why Nintendo also decided to map 2 of them to the other face buttons. Left C to Y, the left button, and down C to X, the upper button. Or you can hold the right trigger to temporarily change all of the face buttons to all of the C buttons in their correct positions, losing A and B. If I sound increasingly exasperated, it's because you can't remap them. Some folks online like to act like the current year argument is a rhetorical fallacy, but for fuck's sake, Nintendo, it's 2021.
Personally, I enjoy the additional intellectual challenge of playing N64 games with a pair of Joy-Cons.
Oh yeah, no, certainly it's clear that they turned the button mapping decisions over to a Cenobite.
Any Cenobites with 3 arms?
Armo?
Coming up, Saber Interactive and Illogica have announced a video game adaptation of A Quiet Place coming in 2022. So keep an eye out for Let's Plays and walkthroughs from your favorite ASMR streamers and YouTube channels.
Welcome to CheckPoint. Sorry. Beach did such a good job
Yep.
of bringing the mug up silently.
It was like I can't put it
during
on
the title that I was like, oh dang. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I should probably admit that last night when I was writing the Idris Elba story about Knuckles, that because I told you earlier, but I might as well just admit on camera to everybody that I was out in our living room writing it, and as I read it back, I couldn't finish the story. I was laughing so hard at my own jokes, which I almost never do.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to the whole Idris plans to rob us of the urge to fuck a cartoon monotream,
Yep.
every time I read that, I would start giggling. And when I made it through once, I got all the way up to Big the Cat OCs and fell apart again. And I was like, yeah, there's just something about a good turn of phrase that really just, lights my brain.
No, cartoon monotream is very strong.
I really wanted to work in a Perry the Platypus joke as well.
Perry the monotream?
Right?
Wait, platypuses are
Our monotremes, exactly, right? And I wanted to really work in a thing that's kind of like, I wanted to...
There's only 3 kinds of monotremes in the world.
Rob us of the urge
2 of them are echidnas.
Yeah. Rob us of the urge to fuck a cartoon monotreme, but hey, there's always Perry the Platypus, I guess. Like, I was going to do that, and I was like, it's kind of a weird departure from the whole Sonic thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, it's fine. All the perverts will love Big the Cat.
We joked about... we joked in the scripted portion some weeks ago about the scripted portion versus this stuff where we just sit here and chat bullshit for a few minutes. But I am routinely very proud of the scripted work that we do on this show.
Yeah.
Like today I was just reviewing the script for today. I was like, I got some funny phrases in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not bad considering we write them so late at night on Wednesday.
And sometimes there's just this sense of when you're writing something, it's like, this is a nothing story. Like, there's nothing going on here. And you just are kind of like, what do I do to turn this into like, rather than just the one like obvious joke, like what do you do to maintain that story for the whole time? But I mean, I did a couple of long walks the other week, so it was like, yeah, just no joke, just basically I'm building up to one thing at the end, and that's the only thing you're gonna get. So like
that long walks joke. Oh right, you wanted to share your other. So there was a lower third. The Excel story that was P duration D's nuts.
Yeah, and my other one
that's where P is.
The other one that I had about 8, but the one I will mention here it was equals nominal D's nuts, which I was like, nominal D's nuts is actually really good, and that is good. But I was like, yeah, P duration D's nuts was like,
never gonna say that out loud.
No, yeah. we'll do the other ones on Chill Point. You can make your guesses in the comments below. No, you can't. There's no. This isn't on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we didn't even joke about it this time.
Yeah. It's just become sad reality, right?
Yeah.
That's what for us. It's comedy plus time equals tragedy.
Wow, that's frighteningly accurate. Okay, maybe we do pretty good work when we're not scripted as well.
Yeah. When they announced he'd be playing Knuckles, I have to do this over again.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so much weird shit going on in my mouth. It felt like, okay, one more time.
And now, more weird shit coming out of Beach's mouth.
Yes, please.
I did set up a CheckPoint only TikTok account.
Ah.
So, because we have a LoadingReadyRun TikTok account for those who are unaware. We're up to, what are we up to followers-wise? I should check before I start saying things out loud. We are up to 6,413 followers.
All right.
Which is fine, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Basically, the LoadingReadyRun TikTok account is like crap shots and clips of things. A lot of like stream highlights clips up there. There's one that went up recently of me from a Magic stream where I'm like, next turn's going to be fun. And then my opponent does something. And then I'm like, oh, no, next turn won't be fun anymore. And some people have been using that audio. To like lip sync along to for like a D&D game, for example. And it's like, oh, yay, cool, awesome.
Part of the remix culture now.
Exactly. That's how TikTok functions. But anyway, there's a whole separate one just for clips of TikTok because we were like, wait a minute. Individual stories. You miss out on all of this great content, this stellar stuff, and like the intros and the outros and everything. But the individual stories work really well as just little little sort of clips. I can't wait to make people angry.
Yeah.
Without the greater context or knowledge of who we are or
That'll
what our show is. They're
really
gonna be
help
like,
grow the followers.
yeah, man,
yeah.
you sarcastic motherfuckers. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I guess when all you see is this with no context.
Yeah,
but hey,
sometimes.
maybe someone will, click it and like it and then go and try to find us on the
They'll put an effort, really?
YouTube channel. It's linked from the profile.
I'm gonna if we don't get action soon, I'm just gonna start a Pornhub channel. We're gonna start putting our stuff there. It's either that or Vimeo, and I don't know who's gonna have more cachet at this point. So,
Who does better revenue share?
probably Pornhub.
All right. Okay.
You might not be able to watch it at work, but
Can't watch it now.
right, yeah, right. Are you on Pornhub? It's like, yeah, but everything I'm watching a bunch of men with their clothes on. That's still a thing on Pornhub.